everyone, I'm back. According to my calculations, this should be the last body panel I need to make for this project. So, rather than do a stop motion like I've been doing on a lot of them, I'm just going to do this in real time so I can explain what I'm doing as I go. Alright, so what I've done so far is I took the mold, I cleaned it with a non-wax removing cleaner so that I wouldn't remove any wax that was already on it, because I'm just going to apply wax on it again. The idea is you need a really good wax coat on this so that nothing sticks to it. Alright, so once I've done that, the next thing to do is put on Gelcoat. And Gelcoat is this white stuff here. It looks like Elmer's glue if you just look at it. And it's a coating that goes in between. It kind of creates a hard, smooth coating. Makes it very easy to sand and paint afterwards. You don't have to use Gelcoat. You could just use fiberglass, but then you run the risk of having surface defects that Gelcoat would take care of, or fiberglass won't. And anyway, Gelcoat just works out better. I started using it. I love it. Let's see what else. Okay, so I have my little chip brush right here. I buy these by a box of like 36 because they're a lot cheaper off of Amazon than at like the local box store or whatever. I have rollers here. You can't use foam rollers, or you can, but they have to be special ones. So this is just a nap roller. I got the shortest nap I could get, 3/8 of an inch. Some various containers. When you get the fiberglass by the gallon, it comes with this top on it. I use this to put things in so that I don't make a mess all over everything. This is just an aluminum pan that came with some, I don't remember what it was, but anyway, I just used this. The pan that came with the roller, the fiberglass ate through it, so you have to be careful with some plastics. Let's see. Oh, and then this is the MEK. The Gelcoat comes with MEK. It's what activates it and makes it harden. All right, but Gelcoat by itself won't harden in air. It needs a lack of oxygen. If you wanted the surface to harden, you'd have to put wax in it. You can get it with wax. I buy it without wax, and then I get wax so that I can add it, so it's more versatile. But you can buy it with wax already. All right, let's see. Oh, and then I just have a spatula here to mix everything. So I already know that this is 2 cups. I have these containers I've been using for a while. I know by the marks here on the label exactly where 2 cups is. All right, and I know that for 2 cups I need 5 milliliters of the MEK hardener. So what I do is I got this container. This comes with a little cup. You can use it. This is a little bit easier to use. It's marked here. All you do is you put enough MEK in here, you squeeze it, and it comes out this little tube until it gets to the 5 milliliter mark. Actually, it's supposed to be 4.77 if you want to be exact. All right, there is an online calculator on how much Gelcoat it takes for a specific area. Up until now, I've been using fiberglass like this. It comes in a package. It's not the most economical way to get it, so I just bought it in bulk, but it works well. The advantage of this is every one of these is 8 square feet. So if I put this down and I see what it covers, then I know that's 8 square feet. So when I did that on the other fender, it took 1.5 of these. So therefore I know that this area is roughly 12 square feet. So then I went to the online Gelcoat calculator to calculate how much Gelcoat it should take, and it says it should take 2.77 cups of Gelcoat. Now it says that does not include waste, so I'm going to round it up to 3 cups. So this 2 cups should not cover this whole thing thoroughly. It'll cover it, but it won't be thick enough. And one of the keys to Gelcoat is you have to get the coat thick enough. And I'll show you that technique in just a minute. Anyway, I have my drink here. I stick it in the freezer, and it kind of makes a slushy thing. The other thing is, if you put it in the freezer and you leave it, it freezes solid. Put alcohol in it, alcohol doesn't freeze, and it kills. Open up flame. 5 milliliters. I'm going to put a little more. Now the more you put in, the faster it's going to cure. And it's very temperature sensitive, all right? So I'm going to pour this in here. And one of the things to make sure of is make sure you stir it very well. Any areas that do not get mixed will not cure without the MEK there, all right? So, and don't just stir it, turn it. So I put the spatula in here and turn it. I get stuff off the bottom, I get stuff off the sides, and I actually do this for a full minute. So, sorry, but you're gonna have to watch me do this. This is critical. I think some of the issues I had in the past were some areas where it did not get mixed. Let's say it stuck to the side, and when I put it on there, it didn't cure. So then when I put the other layers on, that's when I got the alligatoring and things like that, because the next layer is going to attack this if it has more MEK or the right amount of MEK, and the layer underneath does not. So what happens is you'll have a layer underneath, put it on without enough MEK, and then you put a layer on top. The top layer is going to cure. When it cures, it shrinks, and when it shrinks, the layer underneath doesn't shrink right, and it wrinkles. All right, and they call it alligatoring. So I want to avoid that. So just to save you, I'm not doing it for the full 60 seconds, but I literally do stand here, and stir it for the full 60 seconds as I do this. Okay, I am making sure I get stuff off the bottom though, and off the sides. Okay, now I'm going to show you the technique first of just using the chip brush, and that's because you can do it with just the chip brush. You just have to make sure you do it the right way, which I'm going to show you. And again, I learned this by watching videos on the internet. Okay, so normally when you put paint on something, you would put some paint on here, and then you would sit here and try to make sure you got it all nice and smooth. And you'd look for brush marks and make sure there aren't any brush marks. And you know, with a chip brush, of course, you can't get it smooth. But if this was a better brush, I would be trying to get this and make it look like it was sprayed on with no brush marks. Okay? That's not the way you do gel coat. What you do with gel coat is it has to go on thick. So what you do is you dip your brush in the gel coat, you put it on here, and you brush it. And every time you touch the brush to the surface, you dip it in the gel coat. Now I know it seems like you're blobbing it on and it's way too thick. Trust me, it's not. Okay? And even with this, I can see some spots there that aren't thick enough. Do not go back and try to touch it up with a dry brush, because you will end up making it thinner. And that's a spot that will end up with a defect. Okay? So I am literally going to do this all the way down. The other thing is to do like this. When you're going, try to go up a surface instead of going down. It just seems to make it easier. Okay? So it's easiest if you do all of your vertical surfaces first. And the reason why is, of course, as I'm doing this, it's puddling down there. So while you want to get it thick, obviously there is a limit. You don't want to get it way too thick. So, oops, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in a little bit and take care of that. All right. Now I am keeping an eye on how much I'm using, because like I said, it should take this plus another half of this. There we go. All right, so I've gotten this whole area covered. Now here's the thing is, when you look, you can see every place that I put this on. There's a blob and brush marks and all. Now your temptation is going to be, oh, I want to smooth this out. So you go over it trying to smooth it out. Don't, all right? You will end up with thin spots if you do that. So just leave it alone. Now where you can do that is down here where all this puddled, I can come across here and take some of this puddled stuff and move it around. Okay? So let me go ahead and I will continue. The other thing is the edges. You can stop right at the edge. I prefer to go just a little bit more, but you don't have to, because this area is where it's going to get cut off anyway. So I don't know why I do this, but I do. Okay. So by the way, when you watch my videos, you're going to get Jack's way. May not actually be the right way. It's just the way I've done it, based on making lots and lots and lots of mistakes. So each time I do this, I try to not make the same mistake again, but I seem to always find newer and better or worse, whatever, mistakes to do. Okay? I continue on. And you'll notice I just by habit, when I dip this in here, I try to go and touch it up. So I have to catch myself and go, oops, I need to dip it back in the container before I do that. Go ahead and do this right now. So this is where I could speed up the video, but eh. So there's that area. And there's a lip here, so again, I'm going to go in. This is a small lip, about that big. So all I do is I go in there and just touch it, like that. Dip it in, touch it. Okay. Again, I know I'm getting that blob down in the bottom, but that is not critical. The disadvantage of getting too much gel coat is gel coat's not flexible. So if the panel flexes and you have too much gel coat, the gel coat's going to crack. Okay, so that's why you don't want to put too much gel coat. Fiberglass, on the other hand, is rather flexible. So if the panel moves around, fiberglass will just flex with it. The gel coat won't. Okay, go around here, and you can see that I'm getting close to running out. Looks like it's going to take exactly the 3 cups that I calculated. Okay. All right. Normally I'd go ahead and do the other part of it, but since there's just this area right here that needs to be covered, I'm going to go ahead and cover it. Okay. While you're here, look for spots that you might have gotten thin, and you can touch them up if you dip the brush in before touch it up. Now, from making the other parts, I know that I don't need this section right here, at least for my application. It might have been needed for doing this on a C6, but I'm doing this on a C8 Corvette, so I'm not going to waste my time going all the way up and covering that area. Alright, you can't see what I'm doing here, but it's another vertical area, so I'm doing the same thing. I am just about out of gel coat. So there's that. Okay. So it seemed like maybe I was putting a whole lot on, but again, by that calculator, I'm right at the right amount. Take one more cup, which is what I'm going to mix up in a minute, to cover this area that I still haven't covered. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and mix 2 cups, and I'm going to purposely over-apply it because I'm going to show you the roller method. You can also use a roller to do this instead of a brush. What I usually do is I put it on with a brush, and then I come back with a roller. Again, you don't need to do that. It's probably better that you don't do it, but it's going to get rid of all of these thick and thin areas. There is a risk of doing it that you're just going to end up taking gel coat off, which is why I'm doing it by a measurement system. So in other words, if I know this whole surface takes 3 coats of gel coat, it doesn't matter if I spray it on, brush it on, pour it on, whatever. As long as I use the right amount of gel coat, then I know the surface, the thickness of the gel coat has to be correct. All right, I'm pretty much out of what's in here. I could try to get every last bit, but there's no point because I'm going to do this again. All right, so here's my gel coat. See, it says no wax gel coat. All right. Again, got it from Amazon. This stuff's significantly cheaper than anyone else, so and it's worked well for me. Saves me about $30 a gallon. So, all right. Again, I know where that mark is for my cup, so I'm simply going to pour 1 cup in there. No, I take that back. I'm going to do 2 cups because remember I was going to over apply it. So there's my 2 cup line. Okay. Now just to let you know, I did shake this up before I did it. I assume there's solids in here and they settle like paint. Don't know that for sure. All right. My 2 cups. I need my 4 milliliters. Now one of the things you want to watch out for is some of that alligatoring happens if the layer you put on top cures faster than the layer underneath. Okay, so if you do multiple layers, you want to put the first layer with a little more MEK and then the second layer with a little less. That way you make sure you don't have the top layer curing faster than the bottom layer and causing issues. Once again, take it, stir it up, making sure that I don't just stir, that I turn it. So I guess you could get a spoon or something if you don't want to do this, but I've been using a spatula for a while. The other thing is this white stuff, gel coat, it's a mess. If you get it on you, everything you touch for the rest of the day will end up with white on it. It does not come off your hands really easy. So just be forewarned. I don't know if any of you use thermal grease. When you use thermal grease, it seems that no matter how careful you are, you have thermal grease on everything you touch for the rest of the day, even though you thought you got all the thermal grease off your hands and you were real careful, and actually you thought you didn't get any on you at all. And in fact, that's not the case. Okay, like I said, I'm cutting this stirring a little short. That might bite me. We will find out in a day. Because this stuff takes 45 minutes to an hour to cure. Then I put the fiberglass on it. It takes 2 hours to cure. And then you're not supposed to take this off for 2 days. You're supposed to let it cure in the mold because fiberglass kind of keeps on curing and it can change shape, distort. If you leave it in the mold, then you know when it's done curing after 2 days that it's going to be as close to the shape of the mold as you can get. By me pulling it off early, I am taking the risk that it's going to change shape a little bit. But since this is my car and my design, I can make it whatever shape I want. So I'm not trying to make it an exact copy of some other car that already exists. And I'm also not that picky about stuff. All right. So each of these little vents has a vertical surface. Again, every vertical surface I do, I dip it in there, basically blob it on, and then I go back and touch it up. I'm going to cover the area in between. Again, when I first started doing this, I thought this was way too much, so I would go back and touch it up, smooth it out, ended up causing more problems. So I am not going to do that. But I am going to hit each of these areas in between. They do have gauges so that you can measure the thickness. I just don't have one, and I don't plan on getting in the business of doing this all the time. I'm just doing this to get it to a stage that I can turn this over to the shop. And the other thing is I plan on changing to carbon fiber. Carbon fiber you don't use gel coat with. Okay, so now the surface is all covered. Again, almost exactly. I've got like a cup left. I purposely overdid it. The reason I purposely overdid it is because I'm going to use a roller. Now the advantage of a roller is, just like when you're painting anything with a roller, it makes a smoother end result. All right, which, as I already discussed, doesn't really matter, but I thought I would try it. I'm one of those, I'm always trying new ways to do things. If the roller, if you get it to work, it would probably be faster than doing this with a brush like I just did. I just wanted to show you both techniques so that you can see the difference for yourself. Okay. There we go. I got the majority of that out. Then when I do this, I use the paintbrush to get the excess off of the spatula. And I rub this. And then, like I said, I use these tops to hold stuff. All right, so I take my roller, stick it in here. Okay. All right. When I'm rolling, I'm going to roll in the direction that's easiest to do. So in this case, this is the easiest direction to roll. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not sure this is really going to improve things significantly, but I'm doing it as an experiment. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid thin spots, because even on my best attempt at doing this, I still ended up with thin spots. They weren't so thin that it caused alligator or anything, but when I held the part up to a light, when I showed you that part, you couldn't see because it wasn't bright daylight that day. But the next day I held it up to the light, and sure enough, I could see areas where light was coming through. It wasn't coming through heavy, but obviously it was a little bit brighter than the other spots, which meant that the gel coat was thin in those areas. All right. Now, as I'm standing here, I actually see some spots that I missed. So I'm going to have to come back and touch that up with a brush. But before I do that, I'm going to take my roller across these areas. And again, I'm just trying to get the coat even, more even. And again, it's probably not necessary. It's probably not going to help anything. I'm just trying to eliminate those thin spots. As you're doing this, make sure your roller rolls. If you watch, sometimes the roller doesn't roll, it just slides. So you're really not getting the full benefit of using the roller when you do that. Like I said, I'll use this to hold that. And I did see these areas where I see orange. So obviously that should not be the case. So I'm going to come in here and touch those areas up. Now the roller wouldn't get down in this gap here because it's smaller than the roller, or I could force the roller in, but that would be kind of pointless. So, there we go. Now, what you don't want to do is, let's say, again, this takes 45 to 60 minutes to cure. So you don't want to wait 30 minutes when it's mostly cured and then come back and try to touch it up. Because what will happen is you've just messed up the curing cycle. You've tried to mix two curing cycles, the curing cycle of the gel coat you put on initially, and then the curing cycle of the gel coat you just put on the second time. And what's going to happen is they're going to cure at different rates, and it's going to cause that alligator in that I've already talked about. All right, so now I'm looking for any thin spots that I see. Shouldn't be any. It should actually be too thick, but it's only, like I said, 50% too thick. So I don't see it. Again, be careful. I should not be doing what I'm doing because I'm risking making it too thin in spots. So as you can see, as careful as I was, trying to make sure I got sufficient gel coat on everything, there's actually spots that I see orange, which means it's not only a little bit thin, it's a lot thin if I can see orange. Now, if you were to just use the roller, the first time you put it on there, it's going to be a little bit thin. And then each layer you put on, if you put it on at the right time, it's going to make it a little thicker. Now, as it starts to cure, you'll see as you go across here, you're actually pulling up the gel coat that you put down earlier. That either means you didn't put enough gel coat on the brush when you hit it the second time, or you need to stop because it's at that cure point that you're going to end up doing more damage than good. And it is reaching that point right now. So again, not only does stuff look like Elmer's glue, it acts like Elmer's glue. So it's getting to the point now where it is like partially dried Elmer's glue. And so if you try to smooth out partially dried Elmer's glue, you end up actually making it worse than it was. Okay, I do see, oops, you see a couple of spots in here. I thought I saw another spot. So that's what you want to do. You want to look for any spot that might be thin. Alright, I really don't see any. Now there's a part of me that says, oh no, I'm going to waste some of this. I don't want to waste it. Let me go ahead and put it on somewhere. Again, you're better off to resist that urge. So do as I say, not as I do. Okay. I think that's good. So now all I can do is I wait 45 minutes or so, 45 minutes to an hour. The way you know this is at the right cure amount is when you touch your finger to it, it'll still feel tacky because, again, with no wax in it, this does not cure hard. But when you pull your finger away, it does not end up with any white on it. So that means it's cured, but it's still tacky. And that's the perfect time to put on fiberglass. Now the area I'm touching right now isn't even part of what I'm going to save. It's going to get cut off. If I do get fiberglass on this area, it's going to get cut off. After I'm through with this, I go ahead and trim all of the edges so that I just get the fender. See, there's an orange spot right there. Somehow I missed. Now, I don't know if you could see from the video, but this surface it's far from smooth. If this was a painted wall, you demand that whoever painted it come back and redo it. But that's not my goal. My goal is just to make sure there are no thin spots. Thick spots are okay, thin spots are bad. All right. So again, I will let this cure for its 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'll come back and put on the fiberglass cloth and the resin. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm out of resin. I am actually waiting for Amazon to deliver it. I've gone to all the stores locally. I bought them out every time I go. It seems that they're not restocking it, or they can't restock it, I don't know which. So I've been ordering it online, and I was using Home Depot and Walmart. When I go to their sites, you can't even order it online anymore. So apparently they're out and not stocking up. So I ordered it from Amazon. Same price, so it's coming later. I guess that's it. All I can think of. All right. So no point in us watching it dry for 45 minutes. I will see you in a little bit.